Has Cartagena got too many places to visit now?
Especially with yet another potential tourist trap. Stay tuned for the big reveal. This is crazy cool. Oh my God, this is just amazing. Hi, I'm Justine.
And I'm Daryl.
And we're the Breakaway Bravehearts. And today we're in Cartagena, the one in Spain, a city that is rich with history. We're going to walk you through the streets of Cartagena and highlight 3 recommended spots in particular: the Roman Theatre, Conception Castle, and the Punic Wall with St. Joseph's Crypt. We're also going to reveal a new spot that's not even open to the public yet, so keep watching to find out what that is. Each of the places that we've been to has been another sort of period in time in the life of the city, which is pretty awesome.
We'll give you a bit of insight into the culture and historical importance of each site. Then we'll give you our social tourism review using our usual criteria: social good provided, economic benefit to the local community, accessibility issues, how relationships are developed between locals and tourists, and of course, environmental impact. So let's jump into our first spot, the Roman Theatre. No surprises here.
This is a fascinating historical site with a lot of significance, both in ancient times and today. It's also a popular place, so you'll need a booking if you're going in the high season.
We are now ready to start the tour.
Once inside, there is an extensive and well laid out museum filled with original pieces that have been unearthed here. We booked an audio guide which gave us some great extra info alongside the many information panels. We tried to take our time going through the museum, but honestly I couldn't wait to get to the main attraction. The entrance to the theatre is actually really intriguing in itself. It's called the Corredor Bajo. It's a corridor that connects the museum to the actual Roman theatre. It runs right underneath the Iglesia Santa Maria la Vieja, and it's this beautiful passageway that links different periods of Cartagena's history.
When you walk through it, you're literally stepping through layers of time. The church was built in 1255, right on the same site as the Roman Theatre, for the explicit purpose of historical continuity. Wow, awesome. I love the way they've done that. After the fall of the Roman Empire, many structures were repurposed, and building the church on the theatre site was a way of linking the new Christian community with its rich Roman past. Plus, the location was super strategic. The Roman theatre was a social hub, so it made sense for the church to be nearby, becoming part of the community vibe. And of course, there's the religious significance. Building the church there was a way to sanctify a place that had previously been associated with pagan practices. It marked a shift in the spiritual landscape of Cartagena, showing how faith evolved over time. But finally, it was time for the main feature, an actual Roman theatre. And it didn't disappoint.
Look at it. Built between 5 and 1 BCE, during the reign of Emperor Augustus, this theatre was more than just a place to watch plays. It was a key part of Roman culture in Spain. Cartagena, or Carthago Nova as it was known back then, was an important Roman city because of its coastal location, wealth, and military influence. The theatre became a hub for public entertainment, gatherings, and political speeches, showing how Roman culture spread throughout the empire, especially in newly conquered regions like Hispania. It could hold up to 7,000 people, which gives us an idea of how big and influential Cartagena was at the time. Roman theatres like this helped integrate local populations into Roman culture, providing a place for the community to experience Roman customs, from plays to public debates. The audio guide is now telling me that no women in the acting troupe. The male actors wore female masks or female clothes.
Architecturally, the Roman theatre in Cartagena is a great example of Roman engineering. Like many Roman theatres, it was built into a hillside, which helped with both construction and acoustics. It had the classic design of Roman theatres with a semicircular seating area, a stage, and a beautifully decorated backdrop. The way the Romans built these structures, considering both aesthetics and practicality, shows their skill in blending architecture with the landscape. But the theatre wasn't just functional, it was meant to impress. And it impressed us. I can't help but think that when I come here, I can see John Cleese going around or someone being offered otter noses as they're here waiting for the performance to arrive.
Otter noses, ocelot spleens.
Got any nuts?
I haven't got any nuts, sorry. I've got wren's livers, badger spleens.
No.
Otter's noses?
It's mostly original, but with a little reconstruction to support modern access needs, and we spent a long time just wandering through all the different areas.
Actually, my audio guide went through 2 cycles of this section and then just kept reminding me to leave. But I simply wasn't ready yet. The theatre was designed to demonstrate Roman power and sophistication to the local population, and it's still succeeding in doing that to today's modern tourists. Absolutely amazing that you can walk around here and get to see what they've uncovered. So what I find amazing is that you can view this from all different angles. Like, it's so huge, and you can literally go 180-degree around it and see it from both sides, above, and then actually go on the stage, which is about what I'm about to do right now. Theatres in the Roman world were more than entertainment venues. They were political tools. This theatre was built right when Augustus was solidifying his power and transforming Rome from a republic into an empire. So the theatre's construction wasn't just for fun. It was also about showing off the glory and power of Rome and its emperor. So now we're on stage. He'd be allowed to act, not me, because I'm female. This is the view we'd get of the crowds streaming in to watch us perform. Or should I say watch him perform?
Yes.
Not me, because I'm female. Do you think I made that point clear enough?
I think you're making that point clear enough.
By building grand structures like this, Roman leaders showcased their wealth and power, helping to win loyalty from the local population. I'm not sure it's loyalty towards Rome that today's neighbours gain from this massive structure on their doorstep, but I'm sure they can't help but admire it.
And it is literally on their doorstep. It's amazing to see how many houses are literally looking over this piece of Roman architecture. It's not like it's just a castle in the middle of a hill. It's amazing.
So here we've got Roman architecture, and then behind it, what would we call that?
Local architecture.
Local architecture. Not exactly at its finest.
Surprisingly, the Roman theatre in Cartagena was forgotten for centuries until it was rediscovered in 1988 during routine construction work. Imagine that! This grand piece of history was hiding underneath the city. Its rediscovery was a major archaeological find. It has provided fresh insights into Roman history in Spain and is one of Cartagena's main attractions, drawing history lovers from all over the world. Once they've visited the theatre, most of them do exactly what we did next. Head over to the castle, which is just a short walk up the hill.
Getting there is an easy climb through some lovely gardens, which offer yet another spectacular view of the theatre and the city. This time when we arrived, we opted to skip the audio guide. So we were lucky that the signs all had English translations, as did the information video. It turns out the Castillo de la Concepción is packed with historical significance. Its origins go back to the Middle Ages, and it's been a strategic point for both the city and its port for centuries. During the Moorish period, they built a fortress at the top of the hill called the Alcazar. Back then, the walled city stretched down the hillside.
Then, after the Reconquista in the late 13th century, when Cartagena was part of Castile, King Alfonso X the Wise gave the order to build a keep inside the old Moorish Alcazar. They reused a lot of materials from the Islamic complex and even older Roman ruins. This new fortification, built in a Norman style, had a dual purpose. It was a prime lookout over the sea and the city, but it also acted as a visible symbol of the monarch's power.
The keep in Cartagena is much similar to the ones in other nearby castles like Lorca, but interestingly not as tall. This has led to the theory that work here might not have been completed. Fast forward to the late 17th and early 18th centuries, and the castle was expanded to house a garrison. But by the 18th century, Cartagena was being refortified, and there was talk of demolishing the old medieval fortress to make space for the growing population. In the 19th century, demolition really began.
So the Castillo de la Concepción is not just a relic of medieval military might, it's an example of Cartagena's layered history, with bits of Roman, Moorish and Castilian influence woven into its very stones.
From here, the soldiers of every army have a great vantage point to keep an eye on any threats coming from the sea. And we had an awesome viewing spot too, right across the city and the harbour. There are plenty of viewing spots from the tower with information about what you can see in the distance.
Of course, when you're looking into the harbour, you'd like to see the outlook, but sometimes you might find a very big cruise ship right in the way, as we did.
We may have a bias. However, while the views were spectacular, we have to admit the castle itself wasn't particularly interesting from an aesthetic perspective. Probably because most of it has been demolished and what remains has been rebuilt with a modern twist.
So there's something here, right?
Now where are we?
But the castle was filled with information and interactive features that added a great touch. And although most of the artifacts were just reproductions, they were interesting to see. Underneath there was more to explore, as you can crawl into the castle's rainwater storage tanks or cisterns. Lastly is the medieval display, which took us through the turmoil of the time, including the Reconquista and the forced conversions and expulsions of Muslims and Jews. Because we were there in October, a spooky Halloween touch had been added, just to spice things up a little. They dressed it up.
For Halloween?
For Halloween. And of course, the real last is the souvenir shop. Because you can't leave without your fridge magnet, can you? Okay, so it's providing to the tourism and everything else like that. But
It is another opportunity for tourists to give back to the local community.
it is.
Yeah.
Your little fridge magnet.
Well, most of them are made offshore, so they're only getting a small percentage. The local community is only getting a small percentage.
Yeah, that's the point.
Yeah. And plus, if you're making souvenirs from offshore, you're contributing to global warming through all the
environment.
transportation that's
Absolutely.
coming in.
Is it sustainable? Absolutely. So next time you look at your fridge with all your fridge magnets, think about that.
Maybe we were just hungry, but we felt a little underwhelmed by this experience, to be honest.
Oh, my tummy's starting to tell me I'm hungry again.
Again. The name of it?
This is the Castillo de Concepción.
And your impressions?
Okay, so, I mean, you've got to look at the affordability and stuff like that. They only wanted €10 for the two of us. It was worth it because we learned something. We learned something for sure about Cartagena and so on and so forth. Although it is heavily restored, and the video work was good. So the information was good. It just seemed too modern for the sort of thing that I was hoping for. But it has a beautiful view, we have a beautiful day, and we've discovered something again new. So,
Let's see what's next.
let's see what's next. Let's go get a coffee.
By now we needed sustenance, and we'd been looking forward to the Menú del Dia. But it seems that this old Spanish tradition has become somewhat commercialised in bigger tourist cities now. And even though we headed away from the main streets, we did think they were all a little overpriced. Still very tasty though, and I have no idea how my coffee turned into a wine. Perhaps it was lost in translation?
Our last spot of today's 3 was a bit of a walk away from the central city. We headed off to the Muralla Púnica. Of course, by now it was siesta time, and most of the shops were shut. But we weren't on a shopping mission today, so it didn't bother us at all. In fact, it made the streets much quieter. We got to see quite a bit of Cartagena by walking through both the polished and the not so polished areas. The bits that are still in development, shall we say.
One of the interesting side effects of living in a city built on centuries of history is that you have to dig it up to find it. So we stumbled across a lot of randomly placed areas that were active archaeological sites still being uncovered. Coming from such a young country, I find it fascinating to think that folks here don't fully know what Roman ruins or ancient artifacts they're walking on each day. And here's where we reveal one hugely exciting site that is currently being developed. It's the newly discovered amphitheatre / bullring. You can see it from the castle and peer through the gates, but it is not open for entry at this stage. We imagine it will be spectacular when it does open to the public and will offer even more insights into the culture of Cartagena. It is thought to have been built in the 1st century BCE as a Roman amphitheatre and used for such delightful activities as gladiator combats, animal slayings, and human executions. Its most recent use wasn't an awful lot better, as in 1853 it was rebuilt as a bullring. The last bullfight was in March 1986. It's fabulous that Spanish authorities are now investing time in looking after this piece of the city's fabric and bringing it back to hopefully a more productive use, educational social tourism. Because there is the scary potential of this site becoming yet another tourist trap, and Cartagena is already flirting with over-tourism. And still, this significant piece of history is worth sharing with everyone. We are optimistic that local authorities will stick to their sustainable tourism policies and manage this site well. So we will be coming back to it, and we'll definitely be keeping an eye on it to see how they achieve this. So hit subscribe now and don't forget the notifications bell so you can join us there.
In the meantime, we encourage you to plan your visits to Cartagena in the off-season to help them spread the load. Our next site is another way to help you do this, as it is off the beaten track and so doesn't draw in the cruise ship crowds or larger group tours. Yet it offers all the historical insights of the 2 previous big draw cards. The remains of the Punic Wall and their neighbour, the St. Joseph Crypt, are both incredibly significant when it comes to the city's history. So to have both in one spot is pretty special, although incredibly difficult for us bumbling English speakers to pronounce.
What was this place called?
Well, this is known as the Muralla Púnica. Muralla Púnica.
Back in 227 BCE, the Carthaginian general Hasdrubal the Fair founded the city of Kart-Hadasht, likely on top of an earlier Iberian settlement here called Mastia. They made the smart decision to fortify Kart-Hadasht with a wall. This fortification proved to be crucial during a Roman assault right in the midst of the Second Punic War.
So they've really thought about this from a viewer's point of view. They've got this glass flooring so that you can look down over the top of it first of all, and then afterwards you can go and visit it itself. What's particularly cool about the wall is how it reflects the military ingenuity of the time. The wall was inspired by Hellenistic models and is actually two walls, parallel to each other and then roof, or I guess you could call it one very thick but hollow wall. It was made of local sandstone from nearby quarries and stood an impressive 3 meters high. Between the two walls were inner rooms with living quarters for the troops, stables for the horses and storerooms for supplies and weapons. Pretty ingenious idea to have your soldiers right there in the wall.
However, as you've probably already guessed by the huge Roman theatre we visited earlier, even such ingenuity wasn't enough to stand up against the might of the Roman army. In 209 BCE, along came General Scipio Africanus, who besieged the city both by land and sea, bringing an end to Carthaginian power in the southern Iberian Peninsula. The Romans went ahead and adapted the Punic Wall for their own needs and design. It went from being a symbol of Carthaginian strength to part of the Roman architectural landscape. But then as the Roman Empire went into decline in the 5th century, the wall fell into disrepair, especially during the subsequent Visigoth period. By the time of the Reconquista in the 13th century, Cartagena was repopulated, and the wall was just a relic of the past, blending into the city's history.
The decision to place St. Joseph's crypt on top of the wall was actually a very practical one. It provided a sturdy foundation and once again cleverly recycled history into new construction. The architecture of the crypt is just stunning. You'll see arched tombs that are a bit eerie yet awe-inspiring, especially when you think about the generations of people who have come here to pay their respects over time.
Each of these spaces served as a resting place for members of the Brotherhood of San Jose, giving them special honour in death. When you walk through, you can feel the reverence in the air. The crypt is elliptical in shape with a niche at one end where once a picture of the patron saint would have stood. Originally, you would have seen black lines framing the openings with numbers assigned to each niche for identification. Then in later phases, they added paintings depicting the dances of death, alongside symbols of religious, political and social power. These paintings were likely created in the early 19th century, which was actually right around the time when the crypt started to fall out of use as a new law prohibited burials in churches and chapels. The church continued to serve its community until the Torrevieja earthquake of 1829, which seriously damaged the structure, and unfortunately all traces of the rest of the building disappeared in just a few years after that. It's incredible how much history is encapsulated in that small crypt. It reflects not just the practices of the time, but is also another example of that fascinating blend of cultures that have influenced Cartagena. It serves as a reminder of the city's evolution from a Carthaginian stronghold to an important Roman and later Christian community. And the fact that it sits atop the Punic Wall symbolizes how history, faith and community intertwine, showcasing the enduring legacy of those who came before us. If you're interested in a bit more detail about how all these cultures fit together, check out our video on our historic tour through Lorca Castle in Murcia. It will give you a quick overview of Spanish history with all the ins and outs of different civilizations along the way. But first, let's round off our trip to Cartagena with our social tourism review. Social good. Cartagena has a long and complex history, being a key city for several different civilizations, and has had Carthaginian, Roman, Byzantine, and Islamic rulers. All of these influences have helped shape the culture of Spain today, so if you really want to understand that culture, you need to understand its history too.
There is plenty of information at all of these sites that will help you do that. And all sites provide audio guides in a number of languages. The audio guide at the Roman Theatre was a little unusual for us. It wanted you to just follow through pace by pace, and we felt a little bit under pressure. There wasn't really giving us that flexibility that we wanted. I can understand it from a certain point of view. It wants to move people on, but we weren't really fans of that, to be honest with you. We felt a lot more comfortable in the castle and the Punic walls, where we were not shoved around, as it were.
The theatre mostly highlights the lives of the Roman elite, leaving out the stories of everyday people such as the lower classes, slaves and women, who were, of course, essential to Roman society. These groups contributed to building and maintaining the theatre, but their roles often get overlooked in history. The castle and the Punic Wall mostly showcased the military or the colonising rulers of the time. So again, the marginalised groups like local indigenous people or the labourers who built the fortifications basically went untold. The Roman theatre and castle don't earn our uniqueness point either. Although it's not as famous as other Roman sites like the Colosseum, it's still the first spot everyone hits in Cartagena, and we encountered quite a crowd even though we were there in the off-season. Just our luck, it was the day a cruise ship was in the harbour. However, we feel we can give the Punic Wall Museum a bit of a point here. It's a bit further away, so the cruise ship crowds didn't have time to reach it, and it tends to be lesser known compared to other major attractions in Cartagena. In fact, we had the whole space to ourselves, which was wonderful. None of the sites usually offer volunteer opportunities that would suit travellers.
Treasury. The sites are all mainly funded by the Spanish government and regional authorities. Any revenue from tickets or tours is reinvested into preservation and public education programs. All the sites also provide employment opportunities for locals, particularly in tourism-related roles like museum staff and guides. Workers' rights are respected under Spanish labour laws, and there are no reports of unfair employment practices. As public institutions, they adhere to anti-discrimination laws and comply with tax regulations related to any commercial activities, ensuring transparency.
Accessibility. Each of the sites offered decent wheelchair accessibility, particularly the Roman Theatre Museum, which has ramps and elevators to accommodate visitors with mobility issues. The Punic Wall Museum, however, due to its ancient structure, wasn't completely accessible. So they've come up with a unique way to make sure the experience is as real as possible for wheelchair users. A virtual reality stand at the top of an accessible ramp. We thought this was awesome and would love to hear from anyone who has tried it out. Please let us know in the comments below. There isn't widely available information on specific accommodations for hearing or sight impairments, so you probably need to inquire at each location about this. Cartagena itself is considered a fairly welcoming city with growing support for the LGBTQ+ community.
There is a cafe at the museum, but details on whether they offer vegan, vegetarian, halal or kosher options aren't widely advertised. The castle only had a vending machine, and there were no food or drink options at the Punic Wall Museum at all. None of the sites were overly political, religious or monocultural, focusing more on their rich historical and cultural significance rather than pushing any modern ideological stance.
Relationships. The Roman theatre offered plenty of information in audio, text, models and interactive screens.
Oh wow, a mixture of lime, sand and pebbles.
We also loved the little people projected in the dioramas at the castle. That's so cool.
That is cool.
And the interactive game of Roman versus the Carthaginians. A cool feature, although we would have done better at the game if we had actually watched the video before we played. Our guessing was pretty poor. Uh-oh.
Oh my gosh. Did I just completely...
You just completely killed me. Look, it's like squished us. Here we go. Boom! I'm dead. I now have no people left. The Romans are out.
But the Punic Wall Museum really won the point for quality of service. The lady there was really helpful, explaining to us that actually we had come on a very special day. She told us that had we waited just a couple more hours, we would have been able to get in for free. This was because the local council had decided to give free entry to certain locations around Cartagena on this day. So a useful thing to know, but we decided to go ahead and contribute our tourism euros anyway. Oh, well, actually, you know what? For my €4, it was well worth it. And to be able to do this with nobody around was even better. And the lady at the desk kindly put our first video into English for us, which I thought was really, really great service. So I feel it was a good choice. Don't know what your thoughts were. Can I put the camera on you?
Sure. I was really pleased that we did the video first because it helped me kind of see what I was looking at in context. So I could see, okay, this wall, within this wall, there lived the soldiers and the horses, and this was the purpose of the wall and all that sort of stuff. So that was really cool to have that context first before just looking at a pile of rocks and not really understanding what they were. The crypt was creepy, and I like creepy stuff, so that was good. Sustainability. Each of these sites, like many historical sites in Spain, are committed to preservation and sustainability. Spain is really stepping up its game when it comes to sustainable tourism. The government has put together a solid policy framework that aligns with the EU's Green Deal, focusing on reducing carbon footprints and conserving resources. They've also rolled out eco-certification programs for hotels and businesses, encouraging them to adopt greener practices like saving energy and minimising waste. They're focused on helping local communities to make sure they get to have their say, and that tourism euros go towards helping them economically, alongside preserving their culture. There are even campaigns to help travellers make eco-friendly choices. You can easily reach the theatre and castle by public transport, as Cartagena is well connected by buses and trains. We used the bus system and found it simple to use, convenient and cheap. And we really enjoyed walking through the city to the Punic Wall Museum. But we were very grateful for our hats and our water bottles. So in terms of its environmental impact, these sites don't significantly harm the environment and each promote low-impact tourism. If you're interested in how we come up with the points in our BB Stars Social Tourism Review, check out the video linked above. It will talk you through why we think this approach to travel is so important, all the questions we ask, and it will help you balance your love of travel with your values. So there you have it, our day in Cartagena. Taken as a package, these 3 key spots gave us a great day out, and it really helped us understand more about Spain and its complex past.
Agreed, and this was one of my favourites in Spain so far, and we've had a lot of great days.
And there's still more to come. In the next few weeks, we'll be heading to Alicante and Madrid. We hope you'll join us then. Until then, happy travels everyone.